The best defensive night of the year for the Utah Jazz. It's next on Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen, and thank you for now making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, we'll do our regular Trends Monday. Should be interesting to see what's going on. We'll talk about the lack of offense last night, Isaiah Collier's performance as the lead guard, and we're going to start with, most importantly, the best defensive performance of the entire season last night by the Utah Jazz. Yes, they actually can play defense if they find a team that has absolutely no spacing and they execute perfectly. That's what we found out last night. Tonight's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Last night was the Utah Jazz's best defensive game of the year. The defensive rating, according to Cleaning the Glass, was a 104.9 in the 82nd percentile. The last time the Jazz had an above-average defensive night was against the Cleveland Cavaliers on January 12th. Now, in all fairness, it's about that moment in time after that 123-112 win in which we started having a lot of guys in and out of lineups, and the cohesiveness of the group, I think, started to fall apart. It was also that Cleveland game was coming off the Charlotte game, which was the single worst performance of the team by a mile all year, lost by 55. And, I think was a reaction to that, played very, very well, won in Cleveland. Against Oklahoma City 2 nights prior to that, the Jazz had been good defensively, and against Dallas, they'd been good defensively. So right prior to that sequence, the Jazz had played 3 of their last 4 games really well defensively. And then since then, Lauri has only played 3 of the next 11 games after he got hit with the flu in Chicago, and then the lingering after effects. And in those games, there are some times where we're just not going to be good defensively, right? So Lauri's played the Clipper game, the Warrior game, and the Raptors game. And in the Clippers game, when we did not have Jusuf Nurkić. So when we don't have Jusuf Nurkić, it's a 133 defensive rating. Kevin Love starting at center is not a way that we're going to live very often. And then we did have Nurkić against Golden State in that game, but last night's only the second time. And we allowed 140 points, so let's just make sure we understand that can't happen. It is only the second time since that Cleveland game we were so good defensively that we've actually had Lauri and Nurk on the floor together. And if you're suddenly using Lauri and Nurk as your status for being great defensively, you are probably not a very good defensive team, since neither of them are regarded as good defenders. But nonetheless, that was outstanding last night. And what was outstanding is that Toronto has some weaknesses. So Toronto wants to play a fast break game, which has, for the years, been one of the Jazz's biggest problems, is that they allow teams to play in transition a ton. Last night, Toronto got out and ran. They were out in transition 20% of the time, which is a lot. But honestly, for us, that's half decent. But that's what Toronto does. Toronto plays, and I think Will Hardy had a stat that something like half their scores came in the first 6 seconds of the shot clock last night. When they got into the half court, Toronto doesn't have a lot of shooters. They have Emmanuel Quickley who can shoot, and they don't have a lot else. And they play a lot of isolation with Brandon Ingram and R.J. Barrett. And we're not great isolation defenders. But last night, the team was so connected defensively. Last night, Toronto's half-court offense was an 82.1. That is the second best or third best half-court defense we've had all year. Opening night against the Clippers, and then at Boston, the defense was really good. And what they did to create that last night is they were really well connected. The Thurl kept saying on the TV broadcast, as I filled in for Bowler, Toronto's trying to find gaps, trying to find the gaps, and the gaps weren't there. The Jazz were helping. They slid over. Ace Bailey's getting so much better defensively at understanding rotations and when they're supposed to happen. The guys did a really good job of help defense off of their non-shooters to crowd and clog the lane so that Brandon Ingram didn't see space. RJ Barrett didn't see space. Ingram got going for a few minutes in the ballgame, but it was an effort, and he, I don't think, wanted to keep that effort up the whole time to be able to try to propel them. Scotty Barnes, who's a driver, couldn't find space. Really well done in all regards there by the Jazz defense last night. And it was systematic. It was not, and, you know, frankly, guys who didn't do it, I think got taken out of the game and didn't play very much last night. The guys really defended well last night. The Jazz did a nice job of denying the rim. Toronto only got 26% of their shots at the rim last night. The one thing that the Jazz that was interesting as the game went on last night was the Jazz early. Toronto was hitting every three imaginable early, and Toronto's not a very good three-point shooting team. In the first quarter last night, Toronto opens the night and hits 7 of 14 in the first quarter from three. And it's like, oh gosh, they're 28th in the league in three-point shooting. They go 5 of 19 the rest of the way. But also what happened is where the shots came from. In the first half, they got 9 corner threes. And particularly in the first quarter, they got a bunch. In the second half, they only got 5. Something's going on with the Jazz defense, honestly, that is suddenly allowing a lot more corner threes than they ever used to. I don't know why. But in the month of January, the Jazz are allowing about 13 or 14% of their shots as corner threes, which is about as high as any team in the NBA. And I don't know what's happened defensively that has caused that. But last night, and the same thing was happening last night, and in the first half of the game, Toronto was burying them. They were 4 of 8 from the left corner, 4 of 9 overall. They were 4 of 13 on above the breaks. They weren't. It wasn't like they were hot from three. They were getting wide open corner threes, what I would call left corner threes, and the Jazz took that away in the second half. So there was not only was there good spacing and good effort and good tenacity and good understanding and playing collectively, but there was also an adjustment along the way that changed the game at some point. So really, you know what? Like, we need to see these moments in time where they show they understand how to play defense. And they're not doing it with a rim protector. Nurk got a few blocks last night, but Nurk's not a rim protector. He's a size eater. They don't have anybody who's vertically able to make plays like that. It's not a roster that's constructed to be good defensively. It's not a roster that's frankly constructed to win basketball games. So we have to have some understanding and some, grace that we're giving to everyone involved here. But it's great to see. Svi Mykhailiuk might have been the best defender on the floor last night. That would be the other one I would say. It's like Svi was really, really, really good defensively. Ace actually came out as the worst defender, but I thought he did some things well, though he does still foul a lot. And the one that was interesting last night is we were fine when Kevin Love was on the floor, which we're usually not defensively. So really, really good night for the Jazz. Isaiah Collier played the lead guard, and the micro was fabulous. The macro, I don't know if it's on him, but it wasn't. It's next on Locked On Jazz. Monday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, as well as in Logan. The Murdochs and Chevy, what a combination, because Chevy is Americana and Murdochs are Utah. So you're talking Utah and Americana all together at the same time. What more could you ask for? The SUV lineup is incredible with the Suburban and the Tahoe, which I like to refer to as the Utah County assault vehicles, to hitting it up at the top. Then You head down to the Equinox, the Blazer, and the Trailblazer, or even the Trax, and you've got everything you possibly could want from a setup of SUV lamps. Of course, the trucks, I've told you about them numerous times, the Silverado and the Colorado. It's all at Murdoch Chevy right now. If you're going to head over there, email me first and let me get you the VIP experience that you deserve by being a Locked On everydayer. It's all at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play at Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And this week, Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game. Live in the app right now, Drake May needs just one passing yard for the max discount to win. Add another player to your lineup, and if your picks hit, you cash in. Prize Picks is super simple to use. It takes no time to get started. The whole format is clean. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections and makes watching games even more fun because every drive, every stat matters. The social feeds feature is awesome. You can share lineups and even copy lineups from winners with one click. And love that you can follow Prize Picks partners like us, tail or fade picks, right from the feed. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. It is really good to be right. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you for being a part of our Everydayer Club. All of you that have joined so far. Great fun along the way to share all these experiences with you. Try to give you the inside scoop. Here's how the Everydayer Club works. If you want the inside scoop on all access, that is $15 a month. And here's what you get. You get one-on-one texting interaction with me. You get... So that's one. You get access to the merch store. You get Leave Tuline's bonus episodes breaking down the performances of Darren Peterson and AJ and all the other draft prospects. You get ad-free Locked On Sports today. You get access to our Discord channel. You get a daily newsletter sent to your inbox. That's all for just $15 a month or $150 a year if you do the annual. If you want just ad-free and Locked On Sports today and Locked On Jazz, plus access to the Discord, you can be an Everydayer member. Dan Benner just joined in, so you can join him. Welcome to Dan and Tyson Newman, long time Locked On. Tyson Newman, my man. I think you and I have been doing this together. I don't know, Tyson Newman. I don't know if you're old enough, but I feel like you and I have been doing this for 12 years. Like you might have been one of the originals who watched the YouTube the G chats where people did crazy things. All right. Isaiah Collier was the lead guard last night with Keyonte George out. Key's probably going to be a little bit on that tweaked ankle. I thought it was a really interesting thing to watch. I thought Isaiah, the growth we're seeing out of Isaiah is really tremendous. It's really tremendous. It's neat to see. He's doing so many things better than he used to. He had 19 points. He had 7 assists. He only turned it over 3 times. He really didn't have any of the, he didn't, in my mind, have a singular, oh dear moment. I thought he stayed engaged and focused for all 30 minutes. The frustration I have with some of our young players, and this is just being young, is we had a play last night where close game, out of a made timeout, and or out of a made free throw, and they get a layup on the backside. Or we have a few of these just kind of soft one-handed passes that barely get there or get taken. It's oh dear. And I thought Isaiah was pretty solid last night. He hit 1 3. He took 3 because he jacked 1 late. He had 7 assists. He played with tempo. He found open guys. The thing Will Hardy keeps talking about time and time again is he plays off of 2 feet. And is now learning how to not get himself caught, driving to the basket, nowhere to go, in the air. Oh dear, what do we do? And throwing the ball away. It's really cool to see. And there's a bunch of numbers on Isaiah Collier that are looking better and better every day. And I'm excited for him because this kid's working hard. I feel like he's got a tough route in the sense that, being the number one prospect at one time and then trying to, 2 years later, trying to figure out how you're going to evolve into a different player. That's a big ask. I know he was 29th pick of the draft and that was a shock to his system. But, it's easy for you and I to sit here and say, okay, Isaiah Collier, you're going to be a 12-minute-a-night guard. Why would he's 3 years ago, he was the number one player in the country. He was the Naismith Prep Player of the Year. He was the co-MVP of the 2023 McDonald's All-American game. So less than 3 years ago, he was the top player in the country. He goes to USC. He averages 16 points and 5 assists. He's the Pac-10 Freshman of the Year. There's nothing about anything he's done in his career that doesn't say to him he's going to be a star. And then draft night just slaps him in the face. And he's 18 months past that or a little bit more. And he's trying to figure it out. And Isaiah's got to be thinking, Isaiah's got a large part of Isaiah's brain still has to be I'm going to be a star. And then you got jerks like me that sit here and saying well, you should watch TJ McConnell and Javon Carter. He's what the hell would I watch them for? He's such a great guy. He's not like that, but you understand what I'm saying? And he's really making great strides. He's gone from 0.98 points per shot to 1.12. In the floater zone, and this is where Will's talking about him playing off 2 feet. In the floater zone, he's gone from shooting 37% to 46%. Floater zone is paint, non-restricted area. And I think this one's the one that he's really getting better at. He's being fouled 15% of his possessions, of his shots, and last year was 11. He probably, as crazy as it sounds, needs to get that to 20%. He has to be a foul-drawing maven if he's not going to be a three-point shooter. But I thought he was really good last night. He hit that 3 early. I thought he picked his spots right. I thought he made plays to other people. I thought he was really, really good. Now, the other side of the story, and this is not that he wasn't good, but there are some weird numbers that take place with Isaiah Collier that do seemingly take place on a nightly basis, and I don't quite understand them. So one, some of this probably is because he played with Ace last night, and Ace had a brutal night. Ace couldn't make a shot last night. Ace Bailey finished the night 1 of 10. He did have 11 rebounds to his credit. He tried to do other things, but Ace had and Nurk went 3 of 11. We love Nurk, but last night a team got up on Nurk's body, wouldn't let him make his passes. He turned it over 5 times, and he shot below 30% as a center in a league when centers are supposed to shoot 65%. And so in turn, and I don't think this is on Isaiah, that's my point. I think it's because these two guys had brutal nights shooting the ball, is our offense was just awful last night. Well, our offense was just awful last night. But our offense was not very good when Isaiah was on the floor. Our offense last night was a 96.8. It was no better when Walt Clayton was on the floor. It was a 95.1. So we just had a really bad offensive night last night. So Isaiah Collier was way better than I've seen him. And at the same time, we had one of the 12 worst shooting nights of any team in the NBA last night. And we turned the ball over 23% of the times. Give Toronto a lot of credit there. And I don't really want to put that on Isaiah as the lead guard, but there is some element that, as the quarterback goes, the offense goes, as the lead guard goes. But I thought Isaiah individually felt like he was really good last night. The team was not offensively, if you understand what I'm saying. Last night, we had 6th percentile offense, and truly, I think we had the 12th worst shooting night of any team in the league. Our effective field goal percentage was 40%, and we turned it over 23% of the time. That was a rough offensive night last night. So I don't want to take away Isaiah's performance last night, which I thought was terrific, but it is got to be viewed in the context that, and I do think that's because Ace Bailey went 1 for $1 million and Nurkić went 3 for 11. Ace didn't go 1 for $1 million. He went 1 for 11, right? 1 for 10, 1 for 11, whatever. Just say a minute ago. 1 for 10. So and by the way, I'm so unfazed by that. Remember, I've said for 1 million times, that's the first time he's done it, that I thought Ace would go 3 for 19 a ton of times this year. So that's my point. Here's the other statistical thing that's a little funky on Isaiah Collier that seems to happen on a regular basis, and I don't totally understand it. Okay. Our pace of play numbers when he's on the floor are not faster. Now, I don't love pace of play because I think how you play often is offense or defense, I think, shows. And the fact of the matter is the Jazz are thought of as you're beginning to hear this a lot from people, that the Jazz are a fast pace of play team. It's actually not true. Teams score really fast on us or shoot really fast on us, okay? But we're not a fast pace of play team. I don't know why that's become kind of the way we're being talked about right now. But that is how it is. Like, that's what's being said right now, is that we're this fast pace of play team. It's not true. It's that we're very slow across half court. We play long possession. We speed up once we get across half court and play medium-sized possessions. But the other team plays very fast against us, which is, I think it's maybe because we just don't have enough resistance. I'm not sure. But my point on this is that for whatever reason, all season long, when Isaiah Collier's on the floor, we're not dramatically faster. We're a 103.9 pace of play team. We're a 103.4 with Keyonte. They play together too. But we're not dramatically faster with Isaiah Collier on the floor, and we weren't last night either. But I thought it was cool to watch the growth by Isaiah last night in the midst of a poor offensive night. And I don't think that's on Isaiah, but it's worth keeping an eye on because his lack of outside shooting is such a deficiency that it changes the floor spacing each and every night. We look at Trends Monday next as we continue on Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp, convenient, flexible online therapy. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. It can honestly feel like everyone has it all together in their love life, except for you. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or focusing on you, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off yourself. It's easy to assume everyone else has the perfect relationship, but most people are working through something. Therapy can help you recognize patterns that might be weighing down relationships down, can help you communicate better, set healthier boundaries, stop carrying everything alone. And even if you're not in a relationship right now, therapy can help you feel more confident in what you do moving forward. The biggest thing, it reminds you that you're not behind, you're right on time. So BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the U.S. that can do initial matching work for you so you can focus on your goals. And if you want to switch therapists, you can do that at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. BetterHelp. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. There's nothing like being in the arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. And that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game. Had tickets located in minutes. Love seeing the all-in price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Being able to see view from the seat before you're buying, making easy decisions. Zone deals stood out. Choose the section. Game Time picks the seats, and you save. Great last-minute options with tickets showing up at solid prices. I'm actually using Game Time right now to go to the Ed Sheeran concert here in Toronto in August and bring my wife because I love this city so much, and I just cannot wait to bring her, so we're going to do it around the concert. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free to start to finish line. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Remember, it's gametime.co, C-O, gametime.co, not gametime.co. Trends Monday. Let's do it. We do this together because we get the same surprise all at once together when we do this. The way we do it each and every time is we look at the teams and we look at their last 10 games, and then we look at the last 2 weeks to see what trends are there. Let's see if the Knicks have really. Last week, the big takeaway was the Knicks, and then they've now won a bunch of games. So the number one differential team in the NBA the last 10 games is the Detroit Pistons, and number two is the Charlotte Hornets, which is not include their 50-point game anymore. Oklahoma City is 3, Boston is 4, and the Knicks are 5. And Cleveland is 6. Feels like maybe the top teams in the East are rising here. The bottom 5 differential teams over the last 10 games are Brooklyn, Utah, Milwaukee, Sacramento, Indiana, and Washington. Could have guessed that. Number one offense in the NBA the last 10 games is the Charlotte Hornets. How about that? LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Knippel, Miles Bridges. Clippers are the number 2 offense in the NBA. They're also 8-2 over the last 10. Celtics are the number 3 offense. Cleveland number 4, Oklahoma City number 5, and the Lakers are 6th. The Lakers still have a negative differential over the last 10 games. Teams that are struggling to score the most: Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Indiana, Portland, Washington, and Atlanta. So our 2 next opponents are 2 of the teams that are having the worst time scoring. And then, frankly, Orlando is right behind that. So our next 3 teams, this is like the road trip of teams that can't score. The best defensive team in the NBA in the last 10 games is Detroit at a 103.0, then the Knicks at 104.0. So the Knicks went from horrific defensively to on fire defensively. Oklahoma City is 3rd, Boston is 4th, Houston is 5th, and Minnesota clicking in at 6th. The worst defensive team in the NBA in the last 10 games is the Jazz, followed by the Brooklyn Nets, Sacramento Kings, Milwaukee Bucks, Philadelphia 76ers, and maybe the most alarming, Orlando Magic. Because the Orlando Magic are supposed to be good defensively. That's their calling card. All right, let's look at the last 10 games, or last 2 weeks, and then we will also take our look at draft position, like we always do. Cleaning the glass is having problems these days. So we'll start with draft position, then we'll get to the other one. The Jazz are currently with 15 wins. And looming behind us, and we're in 6th. And as you may know, we have to stay 1 through 8 to keep our pick. Memphis has lost. They are committed. They've lost 6 in a row. And they have 18 wins. Milwaukee's lost 5 in a row. They have 18 wins. Dallas has lost 4 in a row. They have 19 wins. Those 3 teams are charging after us. We are only 2 games ahead of Washington, that's 113. Brooklyn, who's 113. Indiana, who's 113. New Orleans, who's 113 and should be trying to win games. And Sacramento is at 12. We will do our lottery in just a moment, but let's first take a look at see if we can get Clean the Glass to come up with the last 2 weeks of action. Though it is being very, very slow. Ben Falk had a problem. They were actually down last week. And it is not coming up like it's supposed to. I had it on our game for notes there and trying to switch it over, and it's taking forever. Our internet speed at the hotel has actually been fine until right now. So we will bypass the last 2 weeks because I don't want to bore you to death. And we will head to our Monday. Here we are. Are you ready for the simulation? On a Monday, the lottery simulation, and we get the 8th pick of the NBA draft, but at least we keep our pick. New Orleans goes to Atlanta, then Charlotte, Milwaukee jump up. Wow, Charlotte gave the new number 2 pick with their roster. They'd be really good really fast. Washington 4, Sacramento, Indiana, Brooklyn, and Utah. And thank goodness we dropped 2 spots, but we kept our pick. That would be terrifying. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll join you from Indiana tomorrow as the Jazz get ready for the Pacers, and we continue this road swing. Thanks very much for tuning in to Locked On Jazz. If you'd like to join the Everydayer Club, it is go to lockedonjazz.supercast.com, lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Follow me on socials, DLock09. In the meantime, we send you the first ever national 24/7 channel, Locked On NBA on YouTube. On audio, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night.